So, as I said, you don't have to use my transaction log idea if you don't want to. But if you do, great. If you don't, do something. Do something that makes sense to you, that you think a stupid person would be able to follow what you've been doing. Because, that may very well be the brother that you have in Denver. When your actions are questioned, particularly on a financial matter, it is highly likely that you'll be asked to file an accounting with the court. Because as an agent under a power of attorney, you have a legal duty as a fiduciary to maintain these records. Unless, actually, under the Act, you've been absolved of that responsibility. And under the new Power of Attorney Act that went into effect this year, that's one of the duties you can take away from the agent. You can say you don't have to maintain these records. Now, I, for one, think it's pretty foolish to recommend to a client that you say, oh, your kids don't have to maintain records of how they manage your money. That's just an invitation to disaster as far as I'm concerned. But you could actually turn that duty off now if you wanted to. I might turn it off for a spouse, because spouses tend to have access to all their money anyway. But I would very rarely ever turn it off for a child. So if I'm going to be asked to do an accounting, we're now talking about a legal document that gets filed with the court. And it has to be in a very specific format. You can't just walk in with a grocery bag full of receipts and transaction logs and say to the judge, here, it's all here. That doesn't work. You've got to chew the judge's food for him and produce all those records in a format that he or she finds understandable and in keeping with the rules of the court. The more detailed your record keeping is, the easier it'll be for your blood-sucking lawyer to prepare that accounting for you, and consequently the less it will cost you to have that accounting prepared. If you just give me 5 bags worth of and 4 boxes full of receipts, I've got a paralegal back at my office for $145 an hour is going to plow through all those boxes and organize your mess for you. God help you if I get involved at $350 an hour to do that. It'd be much better if you came in with a little more organization yourself. You'll save yourself quite a bit of money. When the court asks you to produce that accounting, it will generally only give you 30 to 60 days to get it done. That's a lot of time if you have nothing else to do. If your lawyer has nothing else to do. Guess what? You have other things to do. Your lawyer certainly has other things to do. You're one of 200 clients that lawyer might be working on right now. So the idea that you're going to get all that work done in 30 days or 60 days, highly unlikely. But people who can walk in and just open it up, think about the person who goes to one of those picture things where you creative memories or something like that. You get your little scrapbooking club, and they put colorful, cute little captions next to thing, and they put borders of construction paper around their pictures. I have no photographic evidence that I even have children, so it's an art lost on me. But it's really impressive when you open up one of those little books. Cool. I'm tempted to say, hey, I have this whole drawer full of old pictures. Could you do that for me? I'd pay good money for that. But I'm not going to sit there and cut out things and buy little stencils and stuff and put it all in there. I'd rather poke needles in my eyes than do that. But what do I think of the person who walks in with a Creative Memories catalog of their family trip to Majorca? I'm actually mildly interested in their trip to Majorca if you present it to me that way. If instead you just hand me some envelope that you got at the Rite Aid that has a bunch of pictures in it, and I'm supposed to just sit there, oh, this looks like a great trip. Yeah, wonderful. Terrific. Can't believe I didn't get to go. God forbid you get out the old slide projector and sit there, and do one of those. You guys are old enough, you've sat through those slide projector things. They were awful. You would develop an opinion of the person clicking away. You develop an opinion of the person who presents their beautiful, wonderful trip to Majorca in a Rite Aid envelope of just randomly stuffed in pictures. But the guy who walks in with the Creative Memories thing, you're actually mildly interested in their trip to Majorca. And you tend to think it must have been a great trip because they obviously spent so much time putting it all together. The same thing applies if you're a judge looking at somebody trying to account for their actions. The guy who walks in and says, I got nothing to hide, my life is an open book, here it is, I assume you think I'm lying, so here are all the receipts, here are all the transaction logs, I did everything that the idiot lawyer told me to do. Is the judge going to look through all that? Probably not. You have armed yourself with the mantle of credibility, as opposed to the guy who walks in with the box, Judge, it's all here somewhere. No. I'm not, as a judge, going to believe that person. You're not going to believe that person. And you're going to be irritated that they're expecting you to look through all their mess and figure it out. The same way you'd be really angry if your bank brought you a box of all your old canceled checks and said, we forgot to keep track on your statements, but all the checks are here. We're sure you can put them in chronological order. Really? And you still charge me a fee every time I use your ATM outside of the state or whatever? That's not very nice. I don't like this bank. I'm moving banks. Same deal. This is all common sense. You know all this stuff. You knew it before you got here. You just needed somebody to kind of tie it up in one of those little plastic things that hold 6 packs of beer together. I'm just the 6-pack thing. You got all the beer you need. You just lack the little plastic thingy to keep it all together. That's what this stuff is. All these rules you already knew. You're already following them in weird, unrelated ways. But you're not thinking of them as applying in this situation. And this is the one situation where they probably mean the most to you. Okay. When you handle other people's affairs, you need to know about the things that affect them. Like, for example, Dot told you earlier tonight, we're in the middle of Medicare open enrollment. What the hell is that? Well, Dave and I back there, we're not on Medicare yet. We really don't need to know. Well, except I kind of do. I'm an elder law attorney. I'm kind of expected to know that stuff. But it was kind of painful to learn, and I charge people to tell them about it. Dot, on the other hand, I don't know what's wrong with her. She does that for free. You can actually go down and hang out with Dot, and she'll tell you for free what she thinks you ought to do. And so it might be nice if you're going to be the agent managing your parents' financial affairs, which would include paying all their damn medical bills, if you bother to acquaint yourself with the rules of Medicare and know that one time a year I get to switch plans and get away from, one company and go to another, or drop my Advantage plan and get back into traditional Medicare. It'd be nice to know that. It'd be nice to know that when people are older and they tend to have medical mishaps, they fall, they have strokes, they have heart attacks, stuff like that. They wind up in hospitals, they get transferred from hospitals into nursing homes. They do a little bit of rehab, and some of them go home, and some of them stay in the nursing home. It'd be nice to know how much it costs to be in a nursing home, how much it costs to be in an assisted living facility. Answer, about $11,000 a month for a nursing home, about $5,000 to $6,000 for what you would call an assisted living and what I would call a personal care home, because I know there's a difference and you don't. Costs $25 an hour for in-home non-medical care. It'd be kind of nice to know that. It'd be kind of nice to know that Medicare doesn't pay for nursing home care beyond 100 days. But Medicaid does, and it'd be kind of nice to know a little bit about how Medicaid works. You don't have to become a Medicaid expert, but you can kind of have that on your radar. That's something I might need to know about. It might need to know about, bank fees. You might be sitting there on a certificate of deposit, afraid to cash it in because you don't want to pay the early surrender charge. But you've never really bothered to acquaint yourself with what the early surrender charge is. It might turn out that it's only like $8. And you're taking 0.5% interest because you don't want to spend $8 to break it when you could have it somewhere else, maybe making a little bit more money. But you never bothered to ask. You never looked into it. Again, you don't have to become a Wall Street, investment banker here, but it would help if you knew a little bit about the issues that affect people as they age. Because even if you don't use it for your parents, it's going to come back to become somewhat useful to you. So you want to try and acquaint yourself with some of this stuff. And there are resources like Burke's Encore She said they don't give commercials during these presentations. This is their commercial that I give for them. They will help you with quite a few things. You don't know how to do your taxes or somebody else's taxes? They'll do taxes for free. They'll do Medicare counseling for free. They'll bring you a meal once a day for free. They'll sit you in a room and make you listen to some idiot lawyer for free. So there are resources like Berks Encore, like the Area Agency on Aging, even like blood-sucking elder law attorneys who are out there that can help you. And you should avail yourself of their information and their expertise when and if it's appropriate. And in the case of the ones that's free, it's pretty much always appropriate. In the case of the stuff that's not, well, you have to use that judiciously and go when it's appropriate and not when it's not appropriate. Okay? So as I said, make notes about the decisions that you're considering. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and be incredibly sensitive to issues of self-dealing. I end up having to deal with self-dealing problems quite a bit in my practice. And these aren't evil people, and they weren't trying to do anything particularly bad, but they were just insensitive to the issue. And so they needed a little bit of education. In some cases, I don't know if they just got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, but I'll give you, a few examples of things. We bought 4 season tickets to the Reading Royals. We used Mom's money to do it because Mom likes hockey, and it would be bad for her to go by herself, so she always wanted us to go, so we bought 4 season tickets to the Royals. No. You want to buy your mom a season ticket to the Royals game? Go right ahead. But buy your own damn ticket. Don't make her pay for your ticket. Oh, Nana loves to talk on Skype. She thinks it's fascinating, but she doesn't have an iPad that has a camera that faces in both directions, so she could film other people and film herself while she was Skyping, so we bought her an iPad. Cool. Then we bought an iPad for all of the grandchildren too. No. You bought iPads for all your kids, and you threw one to your senile mother who couldn't even turn on an iPad, which is pretty easy to do, and tried to justify the expense as not being something that benefited you. Buy her the iPad, and then go out and buy your own damn iPad so that you can Skype with her, if that's what you want to do. Buy her car for what it's worth. Buy her house for what it's worth. If you want to take her in and take care of her, by all means, do that. If you want to charge her for the care that you're providing, by all means, do that. But charge an appropriate rate, commensurate with what the market will charge if you got somebody else to come in and do it, and recognizing that the person coming in to do it may be better at doing it than you are, and so maybe you shouldn't get paid as much as the guy who does this for a living. Or maybe because you have a much better insight into your parent, maybe you should get paid a little bit more than the average professional television watcher that gets sent in by an in-home care service. But at least you know what those people charge, and you know what they do, and you behave the way they do. You have a written contract for your services. You clearly identify the services you're going to provide. You clearly identify how much you're going to get paid. You clearly keep record of the services that you're rendering, just like the good in-home care agencies do. That's what Comfort Keepers does. That's what Assured Assistance does. That's what Home Instead does. Even the bad ones do that. So if you're going to do those kind of things, perfectly good idea. But have the contract, keep the log, make sure the fees are appropriate. Oh, I agreed to take care of my mother who had stage 4 lung cancer for the rest of her life, and in exchange for my promise of lifetime care, because she was only 73 years old and had a life expectancy on the actuarial tables of the Social Security Administration of 11 years, I had her pay me $750,000. But of course she only actually had a life expectancy of like 4 months. And she spent 3 of those in hospice in the hospital. So it really translated into a month for which you got paid $750,000. These are all real life things that I've dealt with. I haven't made up a single one of these stories. These people walk among you. And suffice it to say, those looking in judgment on their actions found their actions wanting. So they didn't have a good time when that happened. So my advice to you is don't put yourself in those positions. Save your money, don't pay legal fees, and don't charge your mother $750,000 to take care of her for a month and expect to get away with it.